open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to the program. Welcome to the Friday edition of a short week of a more post-Memorial Day Friday, which, everybody's really off this week because, just they're saying, like, I was talking to people yesterday, and there was is today Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What is today?
I know.
So it's hard to figure out what day it is when you get these short weeks like this.
It's been crazy.
This is Friday, right?
It's Friday.
Okay, good. Okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Friday, that is awesome. And we get to enjoy the weekend a little sooner, so that's wonderful. And so,
but the world doesn't stop.
That's right.
Even though our brains do. But
things do.
everything, a lot going on in this world.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is. And I tell you something that is going to stop next week. And that is I-65 in downtown. And we're going to talk about that today. And so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. That's going to be a bit disruptive to the community here. That's your main corridor in the heart of the city.
Right.
I think from like I-264 from the Watterson basically north to the, to the Spaghetti Junction is going to be shut down. And for months, for a couple of months.
Oh, my goodness. So what are we going to do? What is our route?
Well,
what can we do?
It's going to be... they're recommending two things. I read this morning on an article, and you know what? I'll pull this up as we're talking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking.
There's a map of the city here. Let me pull this up. And what people are saying is we want to try to go to the Watterson westbound. If you're going north and you need to get to Indiana and you get through the city, hello, come on, computer. Mm-hmm. You can move when you want
to.
The computer's
it's going to be quite interesting because that's our thoroughfare. That's Louisville.
That is it, exactly. And I'm really curious to hear the thoughts of our listeners. Just, what is, you have to fix things. I understand bridges
and what are
fail,
they fixing again? I forget.
Pardon?
What are they fixing again?
They're
I forget.
fixing bridges. They're fixing some bridges.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some old bridges that are in downtown Louisville. They're crossing some of the, streets there that haven't been touched since the 1950s. So they're just decaying, and you need to repair them. But but it seems like they could at least keep one lane open, or maybe do the work at night or something.
Right?
There's something that why do you have to shut it down just for weeks? So here's the map, Mr. Producer, if you want to pull this up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so basically, where all these little dots are, I think, are where they're going to be working. But so they're suggesting, if you're going northbound, you want to get through Louisville into Indiana. They're saying go to 65 and then get on I-64 westbound, go over to, the Shawnee Expressway, and then just cut on over to 64 in Indiana, then cut back over to I-65 that way. Or if you're coming southbound, you do the same thing. You cut over that over on the 265 in southern Indiana and cut over and go down to the Watterson and cut down, or do the same thing when you hit Spaghetti Junction, just cut over using westbound 64 over to so they're trying to drive everybody west, it seems like it, which makes sense because the eastern part of the county is a little busier, it's a little more your retail and business portion of the area, so trying to move a lot of the traffic over to the west part of the Watterson seems to make some sense. But anyway, we want to hear your thoughts on this. We're not going to take a whole lot of time on it, but it's just interesting. It's going to be very, very disruptive to this area.
But text us at 502-571-0970. Friday, we just want to hear what's on your mind today. Because we're just going to have a great conversation today. We're just in the mood to talk about what's been happening, local, state, national. If you've got things on your mind, text them to us. We want to talk about it.
And who do you think's going to run for governor? in the
Oh,
state. So, we're
Jamie
going to talk about that
Comer.
in this next segment.
I'm
Well,
just going to go on and say that.
well, I think he says he's going to. We have a little story we're going to play about that. I'm going to get your thoughts on that as well. But yeah, this
Good
is
guy.
Open Line Friday. We're going to steal this from Rush Limbaugh. This is Open Line Friday.
Yes.
And so you can just text in your questions about anything we've talked about this week. But really, I-65. I'm just
miss
curious, what
Rush.
do you think about that? I mean, should we shut the city down for 2 months? Is it going to impact your drive to work or your drive to downtown or to Indiana? And that sort of thing. So we have 30 seconds left. So I-65, let us know your thoughts. Also, who do you think should run for governor to replace Beshear, especially on the Republican side? You know,
Who should?
Is there a strong candidate? James Comer's put his name out there. It looks like Michael Adams might put his name out there. So we'll see. But it's still early, so we're going to see what happens there. So I want to hear your thoughts. 571.
We're one of those states that have that off-year election, and it's going to be important.
That's right. There we go. 571-0970. We'll be right back here on Kentucky's Voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and it's just me and Debbie today. So,
Yes.
the dynamic duo here. We're gonna try to hold the fort while Bob
I'm with
is.
the fearless leader today.
Well,
I
fearless,
love
well,
love sitting here with
I'll-
Tom
I'll
and
receive
Bob. We
that.
miss Bob though today.
Yeah, Mayor
We
Bob.
miss-
Bob for mayor. We're going to write him in for
Definitely.
the mayor's race. Actually, you know what I'm going to try? I was thinking about this morning. I'm going to try to get Greenberg on the show, and because I
Yes.
think, he's of the two candidates for mayor in the general election now. He's probably the more moderate. I think
Yes.
his opponent. I forgot her name, but I think she's been part of who she's sponsored by the Democratic Socialists of America.
Oh, my
and I
goodness.
think she's really kind of like the Mandami. You want a
Yes.
Mandami mayor for Louisville. I think
No.
that's who you're voting for with her. But
No.
so we probably want to, and since we only have two choices here, we probably want
Yes.
to bring on Greenberg and encourage to vote for the best candidate available. I mean, we could push a big write-in effort, but I'm afraid that might undermine, moderate support for Greenberg, and we end up with a socialist mayor. So I'm
Yes.
kind of just trying to be tactical about this, right? So maybe so I'd like to talk to Greenberg and bring him in, and at the same time, sometimes it's worth reaching out to your ideological, not adversaries or just people that you differ. It's just to try to help them understand your worldview, and you can influence them sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think if we did some outreach to the mayor and say, hey, listen, we're a conservative Republican, group here. This is who we are, but there are some issues that mean a lot to us. So maybe we can work together on some things. So maybe we can influence
Well,
something.
and also,
And
he
maybe we'll
is
support you because of that.
right. Well, he's also the Jewish faith.
That's right.
And I want to know his views.
Yeah.
I want to know what he's thinking about everything that's happening
That's
in
right.
regard to the anti-Semitism that's just swept
Absolutely.
across the country. It's being fabricated. It's being manufactured.
Right.
There's not real
Yeah.
hatred. I really don't believe that. I think all these things. I mean, it's just like every summer now. It's almost like you can know that there are going to be ridiculous riots over ridiculous things, and you're
That's
thinking,
right.
where is this stemming from? Because I know
That's right.
it's
There's
not
money behind
stemming basically from the hearts of people.
Right.
It's being manufactured.
That's right.
And it's very distressing. Nonetheless, it does a tremendous amount of damage. And I do believe that Greenberg, if we had him on here, I just want to know a lot of things picking his brain and his mind. And, you know, Don Fitzpatrick, whom we had on the show yesterday, the one thing I do appreciate about him, Tom, is that he does reach out across the community.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of people thought, or think, oh, no, he isn't doing anything on the West End. Yes, he is. We have a lot of people that are conservatives, and they just don't know it.
That's
You
right.
know, they're registered
right.
Democrats.
Exactly
And
right.
if you speak to them and you reach out to them, they, you know, then you can change a heart and a mind.
That's right. That's right. Now,
So I agree with you.
Now, if there's a more conservative candidate and I can vote for him as opposed to Greenberg, I would. You know, but in
Exactly.
this race, there's not a choice. So I think
No.
What's the William F. Buckley line? I will vote for the most conservative candidate that I can that I'm available. That I can vote for in a sense. So
Right.
So there's a phrase. If you followed Buckley for a while, you kind of know
Right.
his theory on that. But basically, you know, there's never a perfect candidate, and so.
No.
And I'm not saying we all get behind Greenberg and rally. You know, but you know, the way this nonpartisan race played out, we ended up with really two Democrats in the general.
Yes.
And that's kind of what's happened. So we have more of a moderate Democrat,
yeah.
and we got a socialist. So let's at least get behind the moderate so we don't blow the city up. Let me get back to real quick. We got a comment about the I-65, and they said they're also working on the bridges on Preston Highway and Outer Loop, to Fern Valley, and so he hopes that they finish those this weekend. Exactly right, because that's still going to be open, and so if that's going to be blocked, and then downtown's blocked, it's going to be. And listen, Debbie, this city is already overcrowded. It's already overcrowded, and it's mainly. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I've said this a lot of times. It's illegal immigration in this country that is causing our cities to become overcrowded and the roads to be clogged. Bottom line, you drop 10 to 20 million people into the country that shouldn't be here.
Right.
Louisville's a top 50 city. Okay, so you just do the math on that. You take a percentage of those people, probably 100, 200,000 people in the city that shouldn't be here. That's another, 30,000 cars that shouldn't be here. That's the problem. You know, that's why our infrastructure is failing faster. That's why our schools are overcrowded. That's why our apartments are, we can't get an apartment under
I'm
couple
having
thousand a
the
month.
worst time finding a place for our son to live where he is.
Crazy.
He is and his friends, you know, they were wanting, I mean, the rents are outrageous. One quote for them was $2,650. And the place was a dump.
Right.
That is inexcusable.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And then one yesterday was $2,350. And these kids, they can't afford that.
That's right.
They can't.
Young
and
people are
so,
struggling. They cannot get their lives going financially because of the economy that we've created for them. And it's terrible.
It's terrible.
And
I mean,
it's
he could
causing
come
them
and
to
live
become
at
a bunch of
home,
socialists is what
and
it
he
is.
may have to come and live at home again for a while. But he's still in college, so of course he can. He doesn't want to. He would love to remain independent and do his own thing. But it's crazy. So no, all those things. That's why, yes, we do need to reach out to the Greenbergs. That's why I want to say again, I cannot reiterate enough because so many people were angry about the mayoral race and the nonpartisan thing. And believe me, we as a Republican Party in Jefferson County, we were not happy with that vote at all.
Right.
But that doesn't stop us as citizens from getting on the phone and calling our legislative leaders. Go to any time they have anything that's open to come to. Express yourself, email. You must, because I was told by one guy years ago who was my state rep, he said, look, one phone call to us in Frankfort exponentially represents hundreds, if not thousands of people with your opinion, and we are listening. So
Exactly right.
sometimes I think they feel entitled, but it's up to us to say, nope, you're going to have happen to you what happened in Texas and Indiana and other places if you don't listen and help us with these situations.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to. We have some more comments that's coming.
Good.
First of all, we're going to set up a GoFundMe for Debbie's son for his apartment fund. So if you want, no, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. But young people are having a problem. I was watching some videos last night of this young girl crying about, she can't. All she could afford to eat is like 2 hash browns from McDonald's that day because she could barely pay her rent and and it's true. Like home, I think I looked at this graph before. There's the average age of first-time home ownership is now like into the 40s now. And
that's crazy.
It is nuts. We're in I'm a Gen Xer. I'm mid 50s now, so I bought my house when I was in my late 20s, right? And so which was about average or maybe a little early, but it's It's crazy. So it's and like I said, it's because of the glut of people in the country that's caused the market to get out of balance. But anyway, let me go back to our text here. We've got a great text here. It says, no Ludanis. We do not need a Ludani. So in other words, Louisville Mondani. Like
that's a good nickname
so
there. Thank you.
So there we go. And then the other person was asking, are we sure Mayor Greenberg is a practicing Jew? So is he a person of faith? And so
we can find out.
That's interesting. Because what is a? That's the old age-old question. What is a Jew? Is it an ethnic thing or is it a religious thing? And so that's we would have to ask him. Well, listen, the invitation's open, Mr. Mayor. We'd love to have you on here.
Absolutely.
You and I have done some work together before, and so you'll be treated fairly. So if you're listening, Mr. Mayor, we'd love to have you on and hear your thoughts. And honestly, you're probably going to need some people on the right in the city to get behind you to make sure a socialist doesn't win. And so if you're going to be not a socialist, but just a Democrat, just a moderate Democrat, and that's reasonable, you're going to get some support on our side. And so we invite you to come on. And so, any thoughts on that? I got some more text coming in.
Absolutely. Again, I'm saying our strategy as a Republican Party here in Jefferson County. And when I say Republican Party, I'm talking to all of you out there that are conservatives. And of course, our program, we're Christian conservative, and I'm a Christian first. And I know that many of you out there, you're praying for our nation. You're praying for leaders. The Bible tells us to do that. So we're really, really trying to flip the power here. So if you live in those 3 districts or the 6 that we want to maintain 3 and then flip 3, get all your neighbors to make sure they vote. And because, again, on that ballot in November, that Metro Council race will not have an R or a D by the name.
That's the key race.
You got to know the name.
The mayor's race is what it is now. You're going to get a Democrat either way. But the key race is the Metro Council seats, and everybody listening, we're going to hammer this to the general. There are a few names. There's 6 districts. There's 3 that we have to,
defend,
have to defend.
3 to defend, and 3
we're going
to
pick
flip.
up, and we're going to just drill those names home. Maybe we should talk about them today. I need a list in front of me constantly.
I know it. I know the 3.
Lonnie is one of them in District 21.
Lonnie Joseph. And Nancy Lynn Walters in 17, and then the lady Kat something, but she didn't have an opponent.
All right, we need to make a list.
Right, we will. We got a list.
We're making a list. We're gonna hit it.
We didn't do our homework today.
I didn't finish that quote from that last person. It said no Ludamis, and then he said hold your nose and vote for the developer bought mayor. So that's kind of a cynical play about is he supported by developers. Well, he was a developer, right? So he developed some hotels and stuff. So I'm sure he has friends in that area.
I just don't want them developing places for illegal aliens to live.
Exactly right.
And that is my thing. And that's another issue. It's just people don't want to talk about it. They kind of skirt around it here in Louisville. The illegal immigration issue is preeminent. It's scary.
Yeah.
It is dangerous. It's illegal. It's wrong. And you've got to have real guts to stand up. And I even hear, in some communities, some smaller communities with mayors, they don't want have anything to do with ICE. It's just wrong.
Yeah,
we've got to talk about
ICE
this.
ICE is killing it yesterday. We're going to go to the White House's website that they launched yesterday, the aliens.gov. Everybody thought it was going to be an alien disclosure like spacemen. It's all about illegal aliens, and it's great. We're going to show it to you here in the next
Only
segment.
POTUS would do this.
Yes, exactly right. So this is great. We'll be right back. Keep sending your text in. We've got a few more we need to read. These are awesome. 5710970.
school board. That's how we got her going.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and it is Open Line Friday. We're talking about anything and everything related to the city, from shutting down the roads to the school board to aliens to you know, we're going to talk about aliens.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we've got a great. Well, first of all, before we get into the aliens thing, we're going to get into a text that's come in, Debbie, and it's just Debbie and I today. And so it's going to be crazy.
Mayor Bob is busy.
And Mayor Bob is busy. He's in Lexington trying to take over Lexington. But so yes, here's a text. It says, school taxes in Jefferson County are just ridiculous. Why do we have to pay school tax just to drive my truck down the road? I already have to pay more than half my property taxes to the school board. How do they have jurisdiction to impose any tax? There are 5 to 6 people deciding to raise everyone's taxes because they don't know how to manage the money. And that's, very good point.
Amen to that.
And I need to understand better how that works, but it sounds like they can just vote. The school board can just vote and raise taxes and its property.
Well, we had that. Yeah, we had that proposition on the ballot a couple of years ago, I think, and then it got ruled, like, if people out there that know better than me, help me remember. I was an election officer. I just remember being on there, and I think it got either ruled unconstitutional. We couldn't have it on there. I don't remember. But all I know is just about everyone's property taxes have jumped up this year because of that increase that they allowed to happen, the school board. Yeah. And it's outrageous because we are so in debt. They do not keep a budget. They have not removed positions that they need to. But I just read on Facebook through another friend who ran for school board a few years, 3 or 4 years ago. I'll find it here in just a second. But they're supposed to do $115 million in cuts, and that will still keep them like $90 million in debt. So it's just a mess. But if your taxes have been raised, you can always file an objection. You can go and you can fight it. So I encourage you to go do that. Yeah. But it's outrageous. It's wrong.
It's just taxes in the city. Well, it's just any blue city. Their solution is just to tax you.
Tax.
Tax it till you leave. That's what America's about in our big cities now.
I know.
Just tax people till you leave, and people do leave, and then they want to tax you higher because there's less of a tax base, so the taxes go up. It's called the urban doom loop, and things just kind of cycle to where the city just looks like Detroit after a while. That's what happened to Detroit. Detroit was one of the largest, most prospering cities in America in the mid 20th century. And Democrats took over and just dominated and ran everybody out. Now it's just a husk of what it was. I mean, there is some revitalization going on there, but it's just still it's just a blight on our cities. Another topic here. A couple of people have sent some texts in about Mayor Greenberg's. You mentioned his Jewish faith, and this person said, well, he may not be a practicing Jew, and so there is the question, about that. I'd love to talk to him about that when he gets in. Are you practicing Jew? And a lot of, there's different forms of Judaism. There's Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, there's Orthodox Judaism, and there's a lot of secular Jews. And a lot of secular Jews, my experience is that if they're not necessarily religious with their Judaism, a lot of times they adopt more left-wing politics as a sort of a pseudo-religion, So you do see that, as especially amongst urban intellectuals, urban Jews, that and the same thing happens with a lot of post-Christian urban elites as well in big cities. The Episcopalians are all left wing.
Right.
All the all the mainline Christian denominations are all left wing. So it seems like when people leave their core conservative, Judeo-Christian faith, you don't give up having a faith. You just need a new faith. And so what happens? You adopt in the West the secular faith, which is leftism, and that's common amongst many groups, not just Jewish Americans. And so I think we need to be fair about that.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. But nonetheless, I'm sure he's concerned if he identifies with just the fact that the racial implications of who he is, that he would be very upset with the anti-Semitism.
The conversation that's happening right now, exactly,
right.
in politics, all this, and both on the left and the right. There's a stream of this anti-Jewish stuff on the left or on the right now.
Right.
And it's just, we've talked a lot about it. I don't want to even highlight it too much because it's retarded, honestly.
Yeah.
It's retarded. Yeah, and there's a great term going around called the retarded right. And
Yes.
it's spot on. It's all these idiots that want to talk about the Jews, Zionism,
Yes.
Israel, and it's just.
And I
Get-
just
get
want
a-
to say
get a
to them,
brain,
go and read your Bible.
That's right. It's
Go
just-
back and study the Old Testament.
That's
Study, it's so clear when you've got your heart in the right place. It's very frustrating.
You need to be skeptical of any political body out there, any
Right.
country, and certainly you can have issues with groups of people that have cultural habits that you may not like or may not, and so whatever. But do you just tar everybody in a group like that? That's just, and do you just? It's just really it's dumb is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just not really intellectual. It's kind of like it's
Yeah.
just kind of whatever. Okay.
Right.
So that's that. I'm sorry. I didn't want
What
to
are
go off
people
on that too
saying?
much.
What are they talking to us about?
Catholic Charities and Biden brought excessive brought in the excessive numbers of illegals, stopped
You're
supporting
right.
groups of taxpayer money that support illegals. So Catholic Charities, spot on. Louisville is like the home of Catholic Charities. One reason why we've got all these refugees in this town. And so we need now. I think the Trump administration did shut that down. Shut a lot of these a lot of this money going to these charities for resettlements and all this stuff. So I'm pretty sure I saw that a few months ago, and I hope that's the case. But that's one reason Louisville is full of a lot of illegals, because we imported them. And here's the thing: Catholic Charities is using your tax money to basically transplant illegals, put them here in the country, pay for their room and board. They give them an EBT card. Like I was reading an article about the Haitians up in I think it was Springfield, Ohio, and they have a term for the EBT card that they get from the charity groups like that. They call it the magic money card.
Oh my goodness!
What they call it, So come to America, get a free house, and get a magic money card, and you can eat. You don't have to work. It's just. We're fools. We're such we're being taken advantage of by the world, and it's like, what are we doing?
How do we reverse it, and how do we get them to go home?
Yeah,
and it's
remigration is what it is.
Yeah,
we ask them,
right.
Sorry, we weren't welcome. It's just not good.
I want
good
them
for
to
us.
do it. It's just
go back home.
Yes, it's crazy.
Anyway, well, I've got you bring up a topic because I've got a ton of these to read through. Before
You got a lot of fun stuff.
I hesitate just to kind of read them without even vetting them first, because you never know what they're saying.
You're reading all of our comments here.
That's
okay,
right.
Great. No, I just want to I want to encourage our listeners to become more involved. Just educate yourselves, and we've got the smartest audience probably in the state of Kentucky, in my opinion, and I know you do. But share with other people about what you're learning, and just but speak up. What I get really frustrated with, I remember, I may have told you all this story, I don't know, but I went to the President Trump rally a couple of months ago that was supporting Ed Galrain, and one of the guys sitting next to me, he wanted to go meet Daniel Cameron, he wanted to go meet Nate Morris. I said, get up out of your chair and go forward and meet them.
Say hello.
They are people,
right,
and they want, they're going to serve you if they win. Or Andy Barr. I said, they're not,
They're not
gods or
celebrities that are
princes or anything. Go in and meet them and express your thoughts. So I don't understand that, because politicians are not movie stars, although they may want to be, but they're not. And I'm just like, they're humans, and their job is to serve.
Yeah.
And especially Daniel is just so amazing. He is an amazing person. Actually, all of them, I've met them all. They're great humans, and it takes a lot of guts to do that.
And the
But
way they
we
treat
have
the
to-
average person that approaches them randomly like that says a lot about who they are. And so, if
Yeah.
there's somebody that, I can't be bothered, or I'm just, I'm too, who are you, or whatever, that kind of stuff, that they lose your vote. I'm sorry. They need to be very open, and they're there to serve. And so if you're a citizen,
Right.
they need to say, oh, how can I serve you? Would you like fries with that? That's kind of,
Yeah.
I got real quick a couple of thoughts here. The tired of the city building huge residential areas, apartments, single houses, et cetera, on roads such as Dixie Highway and small streets that cannot handle the extra traffic. In my humble opinion, poor planning, and that is so true. I live in Fern
Totally.
Creek. That it is just a nightmare.
my
All the apartments are building through there. The traffic is crazy, and so something's going on. That's why I think we need to create these little Class C cities like J-Town out of the suburbs and break away from Louisville and just, or J-Town needs to expand. I'm going to try to talk to some
I
of the...
agree. Maybe we can talk about that a little more. And I have an example to share.
Should J-Town expand? Should we start these little cities? I'm also going to talk about who's going to be the governor, who's going to run for governor, and aliens. We'll be right back.
5710970.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. It is Open Line Friday. You've got your host here, Tom Fallbush, one of your intrepid hosts. And we have another intrepid host, Debbie Robbins, with me today. And so the dynamic duel of Tom and Debbie. And we're missing Bob, but he'll be back next week. But we're talking, of course, the roads being overcrowded, the shutdown of I-65 next week. How the illegal alien problem really exacerbates the traffic conditions in the city. It's just now but what's interesting
and
is
not
yesterday,
having a conservative majority where people are going to stand firm and follow the law and get some of these lovely people back to their home of origin.
That's right. Exactly right. Yeah, that's right. These folks can go home. It's not like we're putting them in concentration camps. We're just asking you to go home. That's all it is, And we might even pay your trip and give you $1,000 just to go home.
Right.
So anyway, but we also want to talk about aliens. The White House has been releasing all these videos about all these alien encounters, and it's with the military. It's been pretty interesting. So if you watch any of that stuff, we won't play any of that now, but you should go see it or try to find some videos on it. It's really fascinating stuff. If you're not a believer in that stuff now, it's kind of like, well, there's something going on. Because you can't explain all this stuff without some sort of either a otherworldly thing or a supernatural thing. I think a lot of this is supernatural. I got a whole theory about it being basically a fallen angel, demonic.
To be demonic. I believe that. Oh, wow.
There's a lot of evidence of that. Even secular researchers on that topic have come to that conclusion. Because they just whatever's going on, it's very nefarious and it's kind of dark. And some when people are getting abducted, I didn't want to go down this hole, this rabbit hole. But let me just say this real quick. This is true. You can talk to alien researchers that deal with this stuff, especially the abduction phenomenon. That when people are in the midst of being abducted, they'll use the name of Jesus and it will stop.
Yeah.
And it will
believe
stop.
it.
And it will stop.
Do you remember the book?
It's just like these night terrors and stuff.
Yes. Do you remember Frank Peretti?
Yeah.
Okay, so the book, This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness.
Yeah.
If you've never read those, listeners, go back. These books are 25, 30 years old, but it took Frank 10 years to write the first one. But it's all about the spiritual dimension. And I remember going to hear him in Nashville speak at one of the churches there. He spoke for 2 hours. I could have sworn it was only 10 minutes because it was so fascinating to listen to him talk about the spiritual realm and the demons and angels, because I know it's there. I know that. And I know it sounds crazy if people listening, if you've never heard us before, you think, oh my goodness. Right. And I want to share one more story at the risk of people maybe thinking my little 90-year-old mother is crazy. But my mom is about to turn 90. And when we were little bitty kids, a long time ago, we lived out in the country, and there was a property across the street from us that was up on a hill. And my mother, to this day, will swear on her Bible that a flying saucer or something came and touched down on the ground and then lifted back up and left. And the next morning she went to see, and there was a big burnt area in the grass.
Yeah, well.
And my mom is 90, and she is a cute little thing. She's smart as a whip. And she wouldn't make that up.
Yeah,
she was terrified by it.
And that's the thing. There's so many of those types of instances, or there's very credible people that have seen this stuff, that experience this stuff. One of the, I didn't mean to make this segment on UFOs, but if you want to go there, I can go there with you. Let's go. So, one of the most interesting, situations where this occurred was in, I think it was in South Africa, that happened back in the 90s. Basically, there was a group of school children that were playing, and apparently this UFO lands in a field next to them, right?
Okay.
And apparently these little green men come out, or these little grays, or whatever, the whole classic little small people with the big head and the big eyes come out, and all the kids walk over there, and they kind of look at them and stare at them, and these are children that have never heard of UFOs. They don't know what this is, and it's 30 of them, right?
Right.
And then they all go back and they tell their teacher what happened, and they interview them, and it's just like a very, it's like you can't make that up.
Right.
These are all, you can't have a mass delusion like that. So anyway. Whatever. I don't want to go down that whole.
Whatever. We can
talk.
The reason all this is happening because
the reason why I want to talk about that is the White House did a website called aliens.gov, and so we're gonna pull that up real quick. And so and it's fascinating. And so they said they walk. I'm gonna go and read this if you're on the radio. It says aliens. They walk among us. For 60 years, the U.S. government has kept a closely guarded secret. Aliens have been walking among us, living in our neighborhoods, and interacting with us in our daily lives. They've shopped in the same stores, attended the same classes as our children, lived in seemingly normal human existences. With one exception, they do not belong here. Millions arrived under cover of darkness and embedded themselves directly into our society. Countless presidents, congressmen, senior officials knew exactly what was happening. Instead of protecting American citizens, they chose to cover it up and even accelerate the invasion until one man finally had the courage to tell the truth. Bold, unapologetic, unafraid. President Trump was the first to call out the real danger of aliens posed to every American family, every community, and the future of our nation. The truth is no longer out there. It's right here, right now. And so now what's fascinating is this
and
this
it's the
website.
Democratic Party. No.
Yeah, exactly right. And this website, what it is, it's a map of the United States, and you can look at it, and it shows you all the deportations that have occurred in the U.S., and it tells you by location. So I zoomed up, like the total number is like 3 million deportations since Trump's been in office.
Oh, of illegals.
Of illegal aliens. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I hit the punchline. The punchline.
I'm just slow. Everybody else got it except me.
Well, I figured. Everybody would kind of get. But so, like in Louisville, apparently, if I click on it here, okay. So what you click on that, and it says total arrests 903. So 903 people have been arrested that are illegal aliens, that are criminal aliens. That are criminal, because every illegal alien is a criminal, but these are criminals that have done other stuff, such as arson, assault, burglary, damage of property, dangerous drugs, family offenses. And so to list all the criminal charges, and then all the countries of origin: Afghanistan, Angola, Bolivia, Bosnia, Burkina Faso, Chile, China, People's Republic of Colombia, Cuba, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ecuador, Egypt, El Salvador, France, Ghana, Guatemala,
here in Louisville,
Honduras, India, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kenya, Liberia, Mauritania, Mexico, Moldova, Netherlands, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Palau, that's like in the Pacific, Peru, Philippines, watch my P's. Philippines, Romania, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, Somalia, South Africa, Spain, Sudan, Tanzania, United Kingdom, United States, and well, I guess arrested somebody from the United States, and then Venezuela and Vietnam. That's fascinating. So that just shows. So if you haven't seen this map, you ought to check it out. It's kind of interesting to see where all their they have separate things for New Albany and Jeffersonville as well, and it's just anyway. So there you go, aliens.gov.
Yeah,
it's illegal aliens.
That's
great.
Cool. So yesterday, when we all got a hold of that one video of them saying, "Can you hear it?" or what was
That's
it?
right. That was the
great.
Teaser for this.
That was the teaser. Oh my goodness! Because I didn't get to the final answer because I had a busy day yesterday after I walked out of here. So doggone, I've got to go look at that now.
Aliens.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it looks like Jeffersonville had 276 deportations. Let's see here. It looks like New Albany had 74. And so you can go to East Little County here. Let's go to LaGrange had 101 total arrests. Let's go to Shelbyville. Let's see.
Wow, Shelbyville
158.
Wow.
And so let's see. We've got.
I hope it continues. I just think it's. I mean, I've traveled a lot, especially in my young life. I traveled all over the world, and believe me, I got funny looks. I'm an American. And you're not welcome if you don't belong there and you don't have the proper papers to be there.
Yeah. And
I don't blame them.
That's right.
I don't blame cultures for wanting to keep their cultures beautiful and pure.
That's right.
And I mean, I know the Lord loves us all, and when we get to heaven, it's not going to matter. But unfortunately, it matters on earth right now.
Yeah.
It matters.
Well, if you want to talk, theologically, there's a reason God created nations, right?
Yes.
The whole Tower of Babel story,
right.
What was that about? It basically said if mankind spoke the same language and all got together, they would commit so much evil together that would destroy the earth. And so the story is that he caused everyone to have a different tongue, and that broke everybody up into different tribes. So that what that's saying is God creates tribes and nations on the earth in order to create a checks and balances system, so that if one tribe in culture starts getting way out of whack and going crazy, you've got some others over here that can check them. And if that doesn't play out in history, in the past 100 years, for example, right, you get this tribe of the Germans, tribe of the Russians going crazy and going evil. Well, the tribe of the Americans and the British had to put that down. So thank God for the Americans and the British.
Right.
Now, if we were all one big culture like the world, like these elites want us to have, this global government, we're all just citizens of the earth, citizens of the world, then we can all, go down this hellhole together, and there's no force to stop that, because mankind is inherently fallen. We have a sinful nature, and that rears its head in cultures throughout history, and so it's.
And if we don't keep our culture pure, I don't mean pure by blood. Right. I mean pure by how we are as a people, and abiding with law and order. We're in trouble. And when we have, you just mentioned all those countries that are in our little city here. Yeah. Good grief.
Right. Yeah, these are illegals. That's great. They're
illegal aliens.
And then they're committing crimes. And so, at the very least, these people ought to go. But now everybody that's here legally needs to go, because I'm tired of paying taxes for you to drive on my road.
I know, and
paying
I'm tired.
Taxes for you to send your kid to my school, to that school. I'm tired of it. Or standing behind you at the doctor's office. You're not supposed to be here. I mean, I'm not saying just because you're foreign, just because you're here illegally, right?
Right.
I mean, a lot of fine foreign people that are good friends of mine and that are not born here and they're trying to be American citizens that are here legally, and lots of good people. And that's a whole other topic. Should we just have immigration? Should we pause it right now? Or I think we should. I think we've had enough. I think we need to.
Well,
it's kind of like eating a meal.
I'm glad the president closed the border. I mean, it's basically paused, but now going back and all the visas. I'm glad that Marco Rubio came out and said, okay, they're going to look at your visas now. So if you've overstayed your visa, you have to go back to your country of origin, and you have to complete your paperwork in your home country. You don't get to hang out here and wait for it to get corrected. You don't get to do that any longer. So that's going to send back hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe I might have been that, or maybe 3 million. It was a big, big number, and a lot of people are upset with it. And I'm sure a lot of lawyers are going to try to twist and turn and protect some of these people. But we just have to make those steps for our nation's sake. And again, I have a 21-year-old son. And he's got to live here a lot longer than I do. I'm going to be in heaven before, and he's got to live here a lot longer. And it's very disheartening.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Aliens, they're among us.
That was great.
They're here. And we've got some comments on that. We're going to get to those when we come back after this break. And also, I promise you, we're going to get to the piece about the governor, who's going to run for governor.
Yep.
And so we're going to talk about that in the next segment. We'll be back here on Kentucky's Voice. It's Friday, Open Mind Friday with Tom and Debbie. We'll be right back. Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org. All right, well, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We're going to get to some texts that have come in, and you feel free to text us. We want to hear your thoughts, 502-571-0970. We covered a lot of ground today, Debbie. We covered from I-65 shut down to
We're
aliens,
just having some fun today.
Aliens among us. So here we go. People need to support a property tax freeze on valuations for 65-plus homeowners. Kentucky House bill on this was not even taken up and gets Senate leadership. Here's the thing. I agree with you on some level. However, the young people are very fed up with the economy, and they're fed up with, here's what they think. Now, there's a lot of boomers and Gen Xers like me that listen to this program. But here's the narrative with a lot of younger folks now. All these boomers have made all this money on their equity in their houses, and they've had a wonderful life, and they've been able to buy houses when they were young, and they've accumulated all this wealth, and they've left nothing for us. And we can't even buy a house, and the economy is it's all geared for them. And so whenever they hear stuff like this, they're thinking, hold on, I can't even afford to live. And you want a tax break? And so that means more taxes on me when I can barely even live. So that I'm just saying that, not that you're right or wrong. That's just the conversation that's out there. And I don't know
there
how
ought to be something on both ends of the deal.
That's right.
Maybe if they're going to, I prefer no tax. I think once you've bought something and you own it, you shouldn't have to keep being taxed on it just because you own it.
Well,
that's one argument.
It's an inflation argument at the end of the day. And I think I'm going to go back to this. Deportations, getting rid of the illegals,
will help
stopping all this crazy immigration will reduce the inflation pressures on home prices. People can get better jobs because wages will go up. It fixes so many things. But anyway, great comment. Okay, there's another topic on. Let's see. He talked about, God created the heavens. Who are we to think he didn't create other worlds? Good point. Yeah. And then it's just maybe aliens are watching us just to make sure they don't make the same mistakes we have. So that's true. That's good. And then is the stigmata alien, satanic, witchcraft, or Christian? I don't know. Interesting topics there. So, but anyway, so aliens. Let's get off that for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm trying to get this the host show. We got this the last segment. I want to play this story from WHAS about who is going to run for governor in this state, and some of the some of what's going on, or some of the candidates that are teasing it. So here we go.
And now only on the WHAS 11 team. Tonight, Republican Congressman James Comer confirms to us tonight that he wants to run for Kentucky governor, that the odds are pointing him that way. WHAS 11's political reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez was the only reporter covering Comer in Springfield, Kentucky tonight, about an hour and a half from Louisville when Comer made the comments to us tonight. We also look at the other big names looking at the race to replace Andy Beshear in 2027.
I look forward to working with you in the future.
His future likely includes a run for Kentucky governor.
Thank you all.
You are going to run?
Yeah, well, everything looks that way. It's something I want to do. I think that the odds are very good that will happen.
I spoke with Republican Congressman James Comer during his visit to Washington County, Kentucky, to highlight federal funding for the area's water lines. We were about an hour from Metro Louisville, where he's been quite a bit lately, despite it not being in his congressional district, presumably to garner support for an eventual statewide gubernatorial campaign.
Jefferson County is the biggest county in the state. It's almost 20% of the voting population there, so I'm going to spend a lot of time there.
So far, there's only one candidate officially in the race to replace term-limited Democratic Governor Andy Beshear at the end of 2027. That's his lieutenant governor, Democrat Jacqueline Coleman, who made her announcement in April.
The governor who will continue to fight for Kentuckians and against the chaos and toxic negativity coming out of Washington, D.C.
But there are others who appear to be testing the waters. Republican Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams.
I'm strongly considering running for governor.
In my interview, he made his case in a potential GOP primary face-off against Comer.
And the reason Andy Beshear is governor today is because so many Republicans voted for Andy Beshear over Daniel Cameron. And that is in large part because they wanted a nice guy who's going to solve problems. Someone to go to natural disasters to comfort people. You need someone who's nice and kind.
I think people in Kentucky want a governor that will inspire them. I think people want a governor that will attract industry, a governor that's well known around America, a governor that's not boring but charismatic. And I don't even think it's close to what Michael Adams' theory is on what Kentucky wants.
Then there's Beshear's senior advisor, Rocky Adkins, the former Democratic leader in the Kentucky House, who's run for governor before.
We're giving it serious consideration. There's no question about that.
Adkins talked to me in northern Kentucky earlier this month.
My ability to work across party aisle with the legislature, I think, brings another added, I think, attention and advantage for me if I make a decision.
So far, of these possible contenders, Comer has been the most specific about his timeline.
We'll make that decision in December.
The filing deadline is in January. Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11, on your side.
Okay, so there we go. So we have Comer, who's teasing the run there, and then Michael Adams, and of course you got the fashion show with the lieutenant governor. What's her name?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline.
That's my middle name, so I like that much about her.
There we go. Yeah, but she's definitely a left winger and
yes,
very attractive lady. And but this is going to be an interesting race because Comer, he's more of a traditional Kentucky politician, especially on the Republican side. He's kind of a relatable, rural kind of guy, and Beshear won in the suburbs with, I think, middle-class suburban women, and so that seems to be the battleground in this state is that vote there, and so Michael Adams was right on this. I mean, I don't think Adams is the right candidate for this, but that vote, that demographic responds well to Beshear's style, his personality, his empathy, his toxic empathy actually, but his empathetic style of, whenever there's a crisis, I'm here to hug you. And, that just appeals to a certain demo. And style is important in politics. And so I don't know. I'm not saying maybe we need somebody that has that sort of, the edge of being able to push the agenda and fight at the same time, not drive away that key demo. That because a lot of people look at Trump like they're their ex-husband, and they hate him. And so, and it's, I'm just saying, there's a lot of women that are like, he just reminds me of my ex-husband, and I don't like him. I don't care if he's everything I like. I don't care if I like his policies. I just don't like. So there's a point to that. So what do you think?
There is. Well, Jamie Comer, he ran for governor years ago when he tried to get the nomination when Matt Bevin eked him out just by really a few dozen votes. Yeah. It wasn't much, or it might have been Bevin, Heiner, then Jamie. That they came in 1, 2, 3, but they were all pretty close. So, and he was much younger then. But the good thing for Jamie is he really has done his job well in the Congress. Yeah. I really think he's done a very good job.
Yeah.
Now, it's too bad that the Congress can't bring people up on charges but that's not their role. But he certainly has put out the information, whether it's been on the Epstein files, whether it's been on the Trump collusion thing, all the fraud. He's done so much to bring out the names and to refer them to the DOJ, even in the Biden administration, and it was ignored. That's what I'm saying. It's really sad. But anyway, he's done a great job. And the good thing is he's very loyal to the president, and President Trump, God willing, will still be president in 2027, and he'll throw his weight behind him. I guarantee it. He will. And I think farmers will love him. I think Kentuckians as a whole will love him. Now, Michael Adams is a very nice man. He's a nice man. I don't know if he has that gravitas or whatever you call it, that magic so much to get people to vote for him. And I think
he needs some hairspray.
So, I've been upset with
Michael Adams.
But I've been upset with the election issue. I felt like in 2020, as an election officer, it took forever before they figured out what we were going to do when we all had to go to those, the big places, and they combined a lot of polling stations. It was just really. I just kind of got a bad taste in my mouth about all of that, and I still have it here.
All right, great. Comer might be a fine candidate, and actually, I invite Comer, if you want to come to this area like you have been and really make an impact,
right? Come on this
program. With this, we are based out of Jefferson County, based out of Louisville, even though we're a Kentucky-focused program. Yeah. Come on the show. We'd love to have you.
We'd love it.
And we respect your work here in this state, and would treat you really well. But what are the attributes that we need as a Republican governor that can win? Because we had really nice guy with Cameron, right? We had a really nice guy with Cameron.
Cameron should be
our governor. We had a very
governor.
Conservative guy with Cameron.
Yeah.
And so
leadership
had a lot of leadership,
but he
didn't win.
Yeah.
So he was up against a very charismatic, Democrat in this state. So it seems like we need. I don't know. We need some charisma, but also a fighter. And of course, we had a fighter with Bevin, but he, it's just hard.
Right.
So we've had fighters, and we have the nice guys.
I know. And I don't know if anybody else. I haven't heard in the circles if anybody else is going to jump up and run, because I think if Jamie says so, that's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Michael may jump in, but it's going to be to no avail. I hate to tell him that, but I don't think he'll win. I think Jamie will win the nomination on the Republican side.
Yeah.
We've had some great people in the past. I think we have a lot of good candidates that will come up in the future. I think we have a couple of females that would be great. Mm-hmm. I like Lindsay Tishner.
Oh, wow.
Lindsay's a leader.
She would be killer.
She's been all over the globe. Yeah, she and her husband were missionaries during a horrific, the earthquake or whatever happened in Haiti. They had to practically run that whole operation there.
Lindsay Tishner is a state senator in the eastern part of.
She represents part of Jefferson County, but mostly Oldham.
Most of Oldham County.
But I see her as a future governor, a female, because she's not afraid.
All right.
And she's been, but some have been unkind to her there, but I like her. And I don't know if this will be the race yet this time, but maybe.
That's a great thought. Yeah, so we have some great legislators in the state.
We do. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, Tishner's that's a really good choice. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let me see if we've got any thoughts on that. We have a minute left. If anybody has an idea of who they would want for governor, text it real quick. Let's see. Hold on, we better pay Hold on, we better pray Comer runs or beg DeSantis to move to Kentucky. Good quote there. I like that.
That's good.
So that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to have a DeSantis. That's what we need. We need a Ron DeSantis
type.
because DeSantis was he was vocal. He could communicate very well,
yes.
and also he could fight the good fight. And so that's what we need. That's the archetype of a successful Republican governor is a Ron DeSantis.
Right.
And so, man, if we can pull that out of Kentucky, that'd be amazing.
Or a Sarah Huckabee Sanders if you're rooting for the girls.
Sarah Huckabee. There we go. All right. I see a theme here, Debbie. That's good. That's all right.
But I'm all for just great leadership.
That's right.
Godly, strong.
That's right.
It was fun today.
Thanks for listening today on Kentucky's Voice. We appreciate your listening and watching and your support. We'll be back next week.